Okay, let's take a look on my answer key. Well, I created a K-means model and I know the number of the clusters should be 3, and I train my model. And the next part, since I have already trained my model, I can do a model.predict. Well, this is a trained K-means model, and I'm trying to use the trained K-means model to predict the cluster labels of the new samples, and then I got this. And the next part, I want to visualize that, so I want to grab the first column as the x-axis and the second column as the y-axis, and then I want to do a scatter plot. And after that, remember, I can grab the centroids, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to do another scatter plot. So there are two scatter plots and then they overlap on each other. And the second scatter plot, I only want to visualize the centroids. So the centroid x and the centroid y, and then I use the marker to be the D as a diamond. So, well, I can see the diamonds are where the centroids are. Okay, so well, a very quick sum up. So for the K-means, it is an iterative process. So well, we started from random centroids, and then we are gonna for each round, we want to assign all the samples to the nearest centroids, and then we recalculate the new centroid and until our results are stable. Okay, and one of the question we didn't quite get to is how do we figure out the k-value. And in some very easy cases in the EDA, exploratory data analysis may help. And otherwise, well, you may want to ask the domain person for a reasonable guess. Okay, well, we do want to continue in the next part. Well, this is another exercise. We are trying to cluster different species of the fish. Okay, so we have a new data set, and what we want to do is, well, if you see the scales of the different features, and you may find, okay, they are quite different. We have 1,000 something, and we have 11 something. So in this case, remember, for the k-means, we are dealing with the distances, so we have to apply the standard scalar. And after that, we want to do that in a slightly different way. So we have a scalar, and then we create the k-means, right? How about we add those two parts into a pipeline? Okay, so we want to do that. Do those two components in a pipeline. So after that, well, we have the labels, but the next thing we want to do is we first want to do the clustering and then figure out the cluster labels, and another column will be the ground truth, the species. And what we want to do is, well, say this is the cluster label 1, and then the corresponding species is bream. And so one bream, and one bream. However, we do have a 3 bream, right? So in this case, it seems that, well, many of the samples with the cluster label 1 will correspond to the species of bream, but there will be at least some mislabeled samples. And what we want to do is we want to do a crosstab, and let's take a look on this confusion matrix. So it is confusion matrix coded. It's, well, and if we want to evaluate the clustering results, and what we can see is, well, this is the original species value, this is the cluster label 1, and then there are 33 of the bream, and then only one sample of the roach, right? So, well, ideally, when we are talking about the confusion matrix, and then we want to have all the values or the majority of the values on the diagonal. However, when we are doing the crosstab, it may not be that. So as long as for each of the lines, the majority of the samples, well, are on one column, and then we can say, okay, well, this clustering is good enough. And in this case, we are lucky enough because we do have the ground truth data to evaluate our clusters, and in many cases we don't. Okay, so spend some time on this part, and I suggest you to pause your video here because I'm about to show you my answer keys. Okay, so pause your video here and try to write your code. Okay, so this is my answers. Well, I want to do a bunch of this importing, and I create a scalar, and then I create a k-means with the n cluster as 4. Okay, so the next part I want to make a pipeline sending the scalar and the k-means model. And after that, well, we want to do a pipeline dot feed fish. In this case, this fish dataset will be sent to the pipeline. The first part will be the standard scalar and then the k-means. And after that, well, if we want to do a predict, and then we got a bunch of the labels. So we have all the labels in one column and then the ground truth in another column. So we put them together into a data frame. And after that, we just do a cross tab, and as we can see, well, the majority of one line, well, are in one column. So, well, that is good enough. And then if we pick this one, the majority of this line is on the second column, which is pike. So in this case, well, even though we don't have a perfect diagonal matrix, we can say the clustering results is good enough. Okay, so that's it for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.